Alright guys, welcome to the intro to programming video. So intro to coding, I'm sorry I posted the intro to Python video first. However, this is the full-on intro to coding video / programming. And we're going to talk about different languages that I am planning to cover at the moment so far. In this course, it's a quite large course. Each individual language tutorial course will have its own playlist. But so this is just the beginning. But I'm doing it video by video, not on one whole 9-hour video, because I feel that kind of monotonous. I like different videos, new beginnings, and a fresher start video. So in the last video, which was the intro to Python video, we talked about Python, as you can see here, and Python 3. So this is going to be the Python course. But as you probably know, there are many more languages other than Python that are also very crucial to learn if you want to expand your programming knowledge, or if you want to tinker in a different area of programming, for example, like web development, etc. So one of the first courses, the languages that we're going to talk about, that is also going to be, I'm planning to teach, is HTML5. Now, HTML5 is also otherwise known as just HTML. HTML is a language. It's also known as the hypertext markup language, as said right here, as it's right here said. And so the HTML is basically the web language. Okay, it's a markup language that is used to make the entire WWW, right? The entire World Wide Web, and 3 W's, as I like to call it. And HTML, all right, is the very basis of the web. There are two more main languages that are used to mainly make the web, which are JavaScript and CSS, which we will be talking about later on in this video itself. But HTML is by far very, very important. Another part of HTML, however, is really easy to learn. There's not much hard stuff into it. You don't need to spend an 11-hour course studying it. It's very, very simple. So HTML, very simple language, but also extremely important, because if you even go to inspect websites or anything web related, you're going to see that it's all written in HTML. So you've got a really important HTML. And so I will be covering HTML in a future course that will be part of this larger programming playlist. We will be including the HTML language course into it as a tutorials course, and in that it will be a couple of videos, learn the basic stuff. One thing you have to remember about programming languages and code as a whole is that it has a lot of similar attributes, only it's the language, the way you express yourself, that's different. For example, in any language, you're gonna have a way to say hello. You're gonna have to wait to say this, that, like in Spanish to say hello you say hola. In Mandarin to say hello you say ni hao. In English to say hello, well, you say hello or hi, etc., etc. And good morning in German is guten Morgen, things like that. So you have different ways of saying the same stuff, but the main idea is good morning. Similarly, you have in programming languages, you have things like functions and objects. And for example, there's an attribute called functions. Functions help you run things, run over, like a for loop in say Python is something that you can use to repeatedly run an operation. So for such a parameter, you do such a thing. So if the number that appears in, say, a box is anywhere between 0 and 10, you would print out hello world. That's a for loop, right? So for I in range 10, print hello world. That is a for loop. That is a function. That is a for loop. A function or and a for loop and while loops, and these are different attributes. However, you're gonna have loops and functions and types and classes in every language. It's just a different way to define things. To define a function in, say, Python, you're gonna put in the syntax def whatever. But same thing, defining a function, defining an attribute, defining something, a variable, for example, in JavaScript, you have to put in var or let, while in Python you can just simply say a equals 10, while in JavaScript you're gonna have to say var or let 10, a equals 10, semicolon. So you're gonna have, basically the idea is you're gonna have a lot of different syntax, but it all means the same thing. Okay? That's the main difference in programming languages. And why are there different programming languages? Because you want to express a lot of stuff to a computer. A computer can do a lot, like a huge amount of stuff for you. And for it to do that, whilst, yes, one language would have been really easy, that language would be so hard. There is one language, binary, but nobody wants to write binary all the time, right? That's why languages were created, so that you don't write in binary code. But the main thing is, nobody needs to spend years learning just one thing, right? Only to just make endless amounts of stuff with that one language to express everything. That's why there are multiple languages. JavaScript, HTML, and CSS are web languages. These do operations for the web. So the web is created in computational data science. Even some primitive web design you can do in Python. Python is almost like an all-around language. C++ for CPUs and software and things like that. And Java for applications. So there's a lot of languages that do a lot of different things. So that's very important. Now let's move on to the next language that I plan to cover, and that's JavaScript. I've already mentioned this before in the HTML5 view just now, but JavaScript is one of 3 languages that governs the web. You write anything, any code for the web, JavaScript is one of those 3 languages. JavaScript allows for a dynamic change to HTML. HTML only puts text on the screen. That is a very important part of HTML. HTML doesn't do much other than just put the text on the screen. It's JavaScript and CSS that makes that text into a website. Alright, CSS, which I'm also planning to cover, but I don't have a web page open for it or anything, because I'm pretty much saying that it's going to come under HTML and JavaScript, so no extra tag needed. But CSS is for styling, making it look good, making it look pretty. JavaScript makes all those functions good for you. So you know how you maybe hover over one of those tabs on some really cool website, and it lights up, and some sort of like underline comes up, and the second you move away, it just slowly fades away? That is the work of CSS and JavaScript. That is what CSS and JavaScript does. Anytime you click on something and it works, that's what JavaScript does, not HTML. HTML can make the button. For that button to actually be able to direct to a different page, something like that, and a lot of other dynamic functions that make your website work and look good and your web application be amazing, that's what JavaScript does, and you need JavaScript. Very important when you're making web applications and anything web-based. And since JavaScript is already compatible with browsers, there's so many other ways you can use it. Node.js and so many other, Angular, etc., etc. So there's so much to JavaScript. We're going to be covering a lot of the basic material for these languages. This is just what you need to start making a pretty good website. And how do you become a pro? That just comes with experience. You're not going to make an Apple website. You're not going to make apple.com after completing this course within like a week. You're not going to create amazon.com after completing this course. You're going to take some time. Because also remember, none of these websites were created by one person. Created by many, many thousands of people working on it every day, adding new stuff to it. It's very, very important to understand that this isn't all one person, and this is really hard to do. You're gonna take some time, but eventually, maybe after a month of hardcore experience, maybe after a year, not a month, but after a year of some pretty good experience coding, you're gonna get an idea of how to make something look good, how to make it work, and how to make a game plan so you can effectively execute items. When I first ended my first Python course, I tried to go and just make whatever I wanted to. I was unsuccessful. I was drawn blank when I began to make a game plan. That's because that comes with experience. Me finishing a course within a month or two isn't going to mean that I can start making complex computational applications using Python to run hard algorithms and mathematics super easily. That's not how it works. So you're going to have to give this stuff time. But with JavaScript and HTML5 and CSS, you can make great websites. So that's JavaScript basically in a nutshell. Let's move on to the next and probably the last language that I'm going to cover anytime soon in this programming series. That's Visual Basic. Now many people say, well, Visual Basic is out of date. It is. Pretty much is. But Visual Basic is useful. It isn't useless. Yes, it may not be the most popular, and yes, it may not be in any way a high-level language, but it's easy to use, it's fast, it's easy to use, it works, it's not useless, and it's compatible with the best, by far one of the best editors and coding platforms where you can write code, Visual Studio. Now, there's not much to say about Basic. Visual Basic, you can do a lot of stuff in it. It's a standalone, unlike its twin brother, Visual Basic for applications, otherwise more commonly known in the Excel world. If you ever use Microsoft applications and 365 and you use Excel a lot, you're going to know this VBA, Visual Basic for applications. This is basically its standalone twin brother. VB and VBA, there's almost no difference. It's the exact same language. Again, very easy to pick up. But unlike Python, it isn't high level. It doesn't do extremely complex stuff. It doesn't do stuff extremely fast. But it is a language that if you really want to learn it, and if you're doing Excel, for example, you need to learn it. So it's something that can come in really handy, especially in a world where we use a lot of spreadsheets and we use a lot of Microsoft's applications. This is really important to learn, especially if you're doing Excel a lot. So VBA, VB, very important to learn. I'll cover some basic parts of that and how to use it in Visual Studio 2019. Also how to use some pretty basic stuff with some help from some other of my friends and assets that I have in my family to explain to you how to use the VBA. I'm not extremely familiar with VBA. Yes, I have worked with it, but I know some people who are really talented using VBA. It's their main language because they're using Excel like every day, every hour, every minute. So that's VB, Visual Basic. There's another application of Visual Basic, visualbasic.net, which we will get into for the Visual Studio web-based. However, I will not use it a lot because it involves a lot of C# and other languages in it that I'm not going to be covering in this programming series as of now. This is not my game plan to include those languages, and I'm not going to force you to just like copy something that I'm not going to be teaching you, right? And I want you guys to understand what languages I'm using and what these languages do, because that's the purpose of a tutorial. And for that to happen, I can't make you just copy off of me without you understanding what it does. And I'm not going to be teaching C# or Visual Studio VB.net in this course, not ASP.NET Core. I'm not going to be using that. So that's not something that I'm going to teach. But just keep in mind that there are other applications of this Visual Basic course should you choose to watch it. Now, another disclaimer, there are not a lot of actually good Visual Basic courses out there for the very reason that it's pretty much outdated. But I will cover some. I will also put a lot of links in the description to other Visual Basic courses that I learned from, that I use to really understand the language better, just because my course will be based on those courses. So yeah, just keep in mind, look at the description all the time whenever these courses will release. And yeah, that's Visual Basic in a nutshell. Now let's move on to the IDE, code editor, coding platforms. So the first one is Visual Studio. Visual Studio, very well known, almost everybody knows it, and it's Microsoft's flagship for coding. Now, with that being said, you can use this a lot everywhere. I already covered Visual Studio Code, especially for the Python, only for the Python though, in my last video on the programming series, which is Intro to Python. Just remember that Visual Studio Code is part of Visual Studio almost. It doesn't come with Visual Studio if you download Visual Studio, but it's like its twin brother, right? Same as Visual Studio for Mac. And Visual Studio, it's pretty amazing. You can do a lot of stuff. Drag and drop buttons, make your own login page within mere minutes. It speaks for itself. But for the purpose of this course, I will only use it for the Visual Basic course, tutorial courses, because that's the best platform to learn Visual Basic on, in my opinion. And VBA will be covered in the Excel VBA editor, obviously. It's the only way you can do it. But other than that, that's Visual Studio. We're not going to be doing ASP.NET Core or ASP.NET or any kind of a .NET within the Visual Studio application, because it involves other languages that I'm not going to be teaching you, frankly. So, with that being said, let's move on to Visual Studio Code. Legendary code editor, almost like millions of people use it, and that it just speaks for itself. Again, I've already covered this. This can be used for almost every single language there is: C++, Java, JavaScript, PHP, SQL. So yeah, you can use it anywhere. And so that's Visual Studio Code. Now there's a lot of more code editors like Sublime Text and Atom. This is Atom right here. It's Atom. I use Atom a lot for HTML and CSS, but I also use it a lot in Visual Studio Code, so there's that. I have downloaded a lot of editors by doing a lot of courses, because a lot of different people who do courses use different editors, like I will be. But I'm just saying, you have to use whatever editor is good for you. I have at least 15 to 60, maybe even 20 different editors that I've downloaded for the purposes of me learning different languages over the time that I've been learning, which is a lot of time. And just use which one's better for you. If you want, you can use which I suggested. Don't download Atom. Atom is going to waste some space on your memory. You don't need it to code HTML5. Just use Visual Studio Code for HTML5. Same thing with JavaScript. You don't need Atom or any of those other editors. Visual Basic, I am out of options for that one, so that's why I'm using Visual Studio. But I don't use it for any of my other languages. And same with Python. So my complete suggestion in a nutshell for code editors is just use Visual Studio Code. You can use it for any language you want. And it's the best one for them. So you don't need to go in the format of Sublime Text or Atom or anything of the sort. Just use Visual Studio Code. Some people like PyCharm for Python, which is what I'm going to be using it in my course as well for Python. If you can't, don't get into this code editor mess. Just use Visual Studio Code. It's really good, right? And yeah, so with that being said, these are just very few languages that I'm going to be teaching. Actually, there's a lot. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 different languages I'm going to be covering as of now in my planned programming series that this is the intro to. These are the languages that I'm going to be teaching, these 5: Python, HTML5, CSS, 3, JavaScript, and Visual Basic. And these are the 3 code editors that I'm going to use: Visual Studio Code, Visual Studio for Visual Basic only, and PyCharm for Python only. Alright guys, so that's pretty much it. This is what I'm going to be teaching. If you want to learn PHP, MySQL, or any other languages, I have a lot of different sources that I've tried out myself that are really good. Teachers and YouTubers such as Programming with Mosh and Derek Banaz. Link in the description for there if you want to try out an even clever programmer for that matter, and Free Code Camp at Udemy. If you want to try out their courses for MySQL and C#, and MySQL for, if you want to use Visual Studio for ASP.NET Core applications web, you can use those. If you want to see some courses for, languages like PHP, C++, Java, which I'm not going to be covering for sure in this programming series, you can go to those. They're great sources. And just search online for docs and, source code. And you have to realize almost 3/4 of programming is thinking, 1/4 is syntax. But 100% and 50% of all of your coding experience, 50% is going to be you coding yourself, and 50% is going to be you searching up on the internet how to do something. No matter how many courses you do, online or in person, you're going to have to search on the internet sometimes what to do. Alright? So, and because I'm telling you because I have this experience, eventually you're going to have to go to the internet and look for source code. There's a lot of websites with it. One of the best for web is Bootstrap. So, yeah, but just remember, you're not going to be a perfect programmer. You're not going to be just able to write code anytime somebody tells you to and tell them to hack the Pentagon or something. That's not how it works. Coding is very, very easy if you know what you're doing. And coding is also really fun. In code, you can do whatever you want to, and overall, you're going to have to realize that at the end of the day, you're going to learn a lot of languages. You're going to need to. You're going to need to do a lot of programming if you want to do web and data science, computation, anything. But just remember, that's okay if you can't make a professional website a week after this course. After you finish the courses of HTML, CSS, and Java. It's alright. Just remember to use what you've learned, use the internet, search for source code, search for help, and eventually, after some experience and time putting into this code, that you're going to figure out a great way to make a great website. And eventually, you're going to be making a YouTube channel just like me here and posting your experience. And that's what it's all about. That's what coding's all about. Having fun and learning always. Thank you very much, guys. And I hope you enjoyed this video. It is kind of long, but it is really helpful in explaining what I'm going to be teaching you. And if you don't want to learn these languages, or you want to learn these languages for a different situation, or you're just trying to decide what languages you want to learn, this is I think a really good starter video. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'm gonna put a lot of links in the description for what websites you can go to, what other YouTubers or courses you can access on various different platforms, so that you can maybe use this video as a starter on which languages are the best to learn for a beginner over the course of maybe 6 months or so. And yeah, so hope you guys like this video. Please like and subscribe, and please press the bell button for more updates and notifications for the newest videos and latest videos. And also, please keep an eye out for my other series. Programming is not my only love. I love military comparisons, history, and so you're going to have a lot of those videos coming up as well. Please also check out my Minecraft tutorial courses, which I am just beginning. They're not finished yet, nowhere near finished in fact, but it's coming along, and I hope you enjoyed. Thank you very much, and see you guys later. Catch you guys later. Bye-bye.